how are you doing? Today I want to talk about mistakes that people make doing podcast interviews. I'm going to go for the three biggies, which is very often the ones that, for the rookie interview guests, things to look out for. In fact, things not to do, biggest mistakes. Number one, who's the audience? Do check out before you agree to do a podcast with somebody if they have specifically asked you, or particularly if you are pitching to do a podcast, who is the audience? And then how best can you serve them? What do they want to know about you and what you do? Now, there could be different structures in how the podcast is run. Sometimes they're interviews and the host will ask you for questions that they can ask you to interview you. But very often they're organic conversations. So how can you bring in, from an audience perspective, the information that you pretty much can work out they want to know about you? Because you're there to shine. And the host will do that for you. But remember, it's not just the host you're speaking to. See, the thing is, chances are you've already had a conversation with the host. So there's a little bit of prior knowledge there. But the audience don't know that. They're coming to this blind or deaf. So give them what they want to know about specifically. Give examples that will be relevant to that particular audience. So that's the first thing. Know who the audience is and work out ahead of time what it is they're likely to want to know about you and what you do, your books, your programs. Have that worked out. Go in primed, if you will. So that's the first thing. Secondly, research your host. Now, apart from the fact that you may know them personally if they've asked you to do their podcast, or if you've pitched, then chances are you do know who they are. But I'm going to encourage you to do a little bit more digging. Go check them out on their socials. See what they're up to outside the podcast. So that when you're having the conversation, remember the conversation is on two levels, one with the audience and also with the host. Thing is, one of the ways to get yourself rebooked and referred is to edify the host, to know what they do. And then say, I saw your episode on such and such, or I saw a post on this, I heard this, that, and the other. So then the host is going, oh, they know me. And when you make a favorable comment about whatever it was they posted, the audience is going, I didn't know that about them. So you're edifying the host in the eyes of their audience. Oh, can you see how this is going to work? Yeah. So if they have maybe not for profit, or they've just released a book, or they've had an interview with somebody else, comment on it. Say what you liked specifically about it. That shows it's not simply a case of, I've done some research and this pinged up. Show that you have actually done your research. And that way, it's pretty much a given that you're going to be referred on to other people and certainly asked back again. And those are the three things we want. We want our guests to be remembered for the right reasons, referred, and rebooked. Those are your three re's. But okay, so we've talked about who's the audience. What do they want to know from you? And that's the slant you're coming from. Not what do you want to tell them? What do they want to know? That has to be the forethought. Okay, what's in it for me is what your audience is going to go. So why should I listen to this? Make it alluring for them. Give them the information that they want. So that's know your audience, know your host, edify them, pick them up. And on that front, make sure everybody on your socials knows about it ahead of time. If you've got a date for publication, and most podcast hosts will give you that, then if they've got something for you, use it. Use their copy. Tell your network you're coming on and tag the host in. If when you're doing the conversation, if there's it's video thing, ask if you can do a screenshot. And then you get on your socials just after the recording and go, oh, I'm so excited. Look, I've just been speaking to. Tag them in. And then do the same again when you know it's coming out. Make your host look good. It goes a long way. That's point number 2. The third thing I want you to consider, it's kind of coming to that first one with knowing who your audience is and what they want to know about you, but know your topic. What is it you're likely to get asked about? What is it you're passionate about? Bring that passion. And then just give one succinct answer to the question. Now, you've probably got so many examples that you could give. Give one. Less is more. And then wait for the invitation to share more. Because if you've given a good appetizer, a good taster, host is going to ask you for more information. That way, they draw it out of you. They look good. And you're showing restraint. It's not a fire hose. I know my stuff and I'm going to tell you all about it. No, it's I know my stuff. Let me share with you one example. And then sit back and wait for the invitation to share more. Because remember, the audience is not going to remember everything you've said, particularly if you've given them a fire hose experience. One thing that they can take away, and as you're winding up, if the host is asking you for final words or whatever, repeat that one thing you want them to take away, which goes back to my first point. What does your audience want to know about you? What's the one thing you can give them to make a difference to them from this episode? Okay? Now, I'm going to ask the same for you. Drop in the show notes, please. What's the one thing you're going to take away from this episode? Remember, we've covered know your audience, what do they want to know your host and edify them, and then one example, wait for the invitation for more. That's what I got for you this week. There are other blunders, but those were the big 3 that I wanted to highlight for today. If this has resonated with you and you want to know more about how to be a good podcast guest, message me. I've got so much more to share. For now, though, bye from me.